What's going on, guys? So we are looking in the bed of our 2024 F450 Platinum, and you will notice that there is an upgrade missing from this truck that we had in the 2017 F450 that was placed right in that general area underneath the bed cover we had. Now, that specific accessory was one that comes in handy all the time, especially if you are an RVer or if you have other things that require its use. Let's take a look at what we're going to be replacing it with, at least for the time being, and see what we think. Hang tight, I'll be right back. Okay, so in front of me, you are looking at a really cool accessory that we are going to be putting in the bed of the truck because this truck actually enables us to use something like this. This is a DeWalt heavy-duty electric 1-gallon, 135 PSI max trim compressor. Now, this is one of those flat compressors that is easily going to balance itself if you put it in the bed of a truck. But what's really nice about this specific truck is the fact that it has a tremendous amount of power available in the bed because this also has the onboard generator. Now, Ford officially calls this system the Pro Power System. It's a 2,000 watt system that's shared across all the outlets in the vehicle, at least all the 110 outlets. And you can see under here, we have two 110 jacks. So this is going to give us the ability to run things off the bed of the truck, or in the bed of the truck, off of the inverter that's included in the vehicle, up to 2,000 watts, that you typically couldn't put in the bed of a pickup truck. You simply don't have the power. In most cases, these outlets in the back of most trucks were maybe 400 watts max, but with up to 2,000 watts worth of power, we now have the ability to run something like this in the bed of the truck and not have to do a tremendous amount of plumbing or wiring to include a 12-volt pump versus your standard 110. Why this is so important is because I can take this out and plug this into any other jack if I need to. I can move it around if I need to simply by unplugging it. When you're tied to a 12-volt system, you're kind of limited unless you have a 12-volt converter near you that you can plug into a wall and convert back to 12 volts from 120. It's a little bit difficult, but because this has a standard wall plug and because the bed of the truck can support so much power, this is going to be really cool to have in the bed of the truck, especially once we get the cover on the back. And the other nice thing is these are really affordable. I paid under $150 for this. It's a 1-gallon system, 135 PSI max, which is going to be more than enough for any application I have. And again, this is designed more for a residential application versus a mobile application, which has its own pros and some cons, but I think the pros outweigh the cons. Anyways, let's get this unboxed and see what it looks like and how much space it takes up in the back of the truck. Okay, so we have it unboxed, and please remember, again, this is not a sponsored item. I picked this up off of Amazon. Again, I paid under $150 for it. I think like $135 for it. You can see it gives you a lot of great functionality. It looks really nice and clean. It has a nice frame around it as well to protect it in case you're tossing things in the bed of your truck to keep things from getting damaged. It has a standard quick release air chuck on it as well, so we can easily plug in our normal air hoses and we don't need anything proprietary. Now let me show you something else that was kind of a contender for this as well. Okay, so I have this Milwaukee air compressor, and this is a portable battery-powered air compressor. It's about a $200 part by itself. When you get it with the battery, it runs over $300, especially if you have a charger with it. The problem with utilizing something like this is that it only acts as an inflator because it has a standard Schrader connection at the end of it, which means there are just scenarios where this may not be practical, especially if you're going to use like a long extension neck to get into the dually wheels on dually pickup trucks. But very cool. This is so nice, and honestly, it actually performs better than any other battery-powered compressor I've had, including both of the DeWalts I have. I have the Pancake DeWalt, and I also have the direct competitor to this, which a lot of people have reviewed, including myself, but I honestly still think this is far superior in terms of performance. But it does cost a lot more than the DeWalt variant of it, though. Okay, so we have it in the bed of the truck. As you can see, it does not take up a tremendous amount of space. What's nice is it could easily fit underneath my toolbox over there, which my Air system couldn't, only because the compressor sat on top of the tank, and it was a 1-gallon tank on that as well. But this sits a total of about 9 inches tall. It's about 19 inches long. and it's about 14.5 inches wide. So the footprint is pretty dang small, and again, it's not very tall. So if you have a truck that gives you enough power from your outlets to actually power something like this, this may be a good alternative to another system that typically requires you to wire it in to your 12-volt system, which can be difficult because, again, you need to factor in how you're going to get wire to it, how thick the gauge of wire needs to be to properly provide the amperage it needs to power up. And at the same time, it's not really that portable. Once it's plumbed in, there's not a heck of a lot you can do. Now, there are some other perks, there are some other pros to some of the other systems that are out there, especially if you have them with controllers, wireless controllers, things like that. But I think for the average user, most people are just looking for an onboard air system in case they need a small air compressor. But for this to work, I need to cut that off real quick. Okay, now that we have that removed, we can go ahead and unwind it. Lift up our connection right here, plug it in, and we should be pretty good to go. Let's go ahead and get the truck fired up and see if we can get this started up. Okay, so up front, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this button right here, and that's going to be to turn on the power in the bed. On the screen, it's saying in generator mode, your engine will continue to run to supply power to the outlets. Okay, let's go ahead and get this thing started up. All right, so here we go. No problem at all. And here we can see that we're using 220 watts worth of power, which means that if you have like a 400 watt outlet out there, you probably can power this. You'd have to check it out and you'd have to try it, but right now we're only drawing 220 watts of power off of the truck to get that going. And again, this might be a really convenient feature for a lot of folks who have that power outlet in the bed and they're just kind of wondering what they could run off of it. All right, you can see we are approaching 120 psi for tank pressure. This is to regulate how much air we want to actually put out through a hose if we plug one in. Whenever we get to 135, it should shut off on its own. Okay, so it went just past 135, probably to about 139. So yeah, the truck power easily powers this up. And again, this is a really, really convenient way, especially for me if I need to fill up tires in something. I can easily remove the whole thing, move it next to each tire so I don't have to run it off the bed of the truck or out of the bed of the truck if I don't want to. That's a big part of this. I can run this off an extension cord if I want. I can use this in other areas. I can use this inside of a cabin. I can use it in the RV if I need to. And that's the convenient thing about something small and portable like this, is the fact that it is pretty dang quiet. It pulls power off of your standard outlet, and I don't need to hardwire it to the truck. So I'm really, really impressed with this. Again, super affordable as well, a lot less expensive versus an onboard air system if you don't need the onboard air system to power things like airbags on your truck or other things like that. But I'm super happy with this purchase. I think it's going to come in really handy, and it's also going to have a ton of uses. Okay, so I have it tucked underneath the toolbox over there. I have it chained in place. I have a small toolbox. You guys might remember that. I absolutely love those things, even though they're grossly overpriced for what they are. But I put the extra air hose in there, an air chuck, and a couple straps. So nothing of high value in there, but it's definitely stuff that you want to have with you if you have a problem and you need the air compressor. And I have a couple extra hoses inside of my toolbox just in the event that trunk gets stolen and I need to, I need an air hose in a pinch.